everyone, my name is Evie Lupine. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have another video for you all. Today we're going to be talking about cuffing season, and do y'all know what that is? Because I didn't really, and surprisingly handcuffs are not really directly involved in this. But the way that I found out more about this was actually through a post on Instagram from Justin LaMiller, who is a psychologist and a researcher we've talked about before a few times now on this channel. And what he had to say about cuffing season was really interesting. Let's go ahead and read that article first and get into the rest of my thoughts here. Scientists have found that sexual activity patterns ebb and flow throughout the year, and we're in the midst of one of the typical peaks right now. The two biggest peaks occur in the summer, June and July, and again in the winter, December and January, but especially the holiday week between Christmas and New Year's Day. We see this in terms of increased condom sales, more Google searches for sexual content, more babies conceived, higher rates of STDs contracted, and much more. Why is that? It could be due to seasonal changes in hormones and neurotransmitters, but it could also be due to the fact that a lot of people take more vacations and time away from work, thereby giving them more free time for intimacy. Of course, there's usually a lot of merrymaking going on at this time of year too, and all those holiday parties might put people in the mood. I should note that most of the research on this topic has been done in the USA, but there is some research finding that, for example, cuffing season, a time of year when people are more likely to enter into and seek out committed relationships, spans whatever months constitute your winter. So independently of the holidays, there are seasonal changes in sexual behavior. And after reading all of that, I had to sit and think with myself, wait, does that mean cuffing season is real, maybe? Because I thought it was just like a silly internet word for when you are more likely to want to get into a relationship, but it's not really real, and I never really looked into it that deeply. I never assumed there might be an actual scientific basis for something like this, and I always just explained it away with like, oh, it's because people don't want to be alone for the holidays, it's because people are pressured to take someone back to their family, it's because people just have more free time and are going on vacation, or even that maybe it's just easier to meet people for things like a hookup or a relationship when at a party for the holidays. But then I reflected on my own experience of this so-called cuffing season, and I think there might actually be something to this because, as you may or may not know, I am in fact asexual. I do not really experience sexual attraction, and my main motivation for relationships is not trying to get into bed with someone. But thinking back on my own behavior, I realized that for the most part I am more likely to be on dating apps during the holiday season and winter, and also during the summertime. I am not as active during the spring or fall, and all of the partners I've had for as long as I can remember, I have almost always met in November or December. I don't really know what that means exactly, but as far as for how this ties into cuffing season, I am, again, I'm not really a sexually interested person, and I definitely do not have more free time around the holidays. In fact, it's normally the opposite. I am not somebody who's trying to bring someone back home for the holidays, and I'm also not going to company parties. So if all of that can still affect me, but it's not just about it being the holiday season, maybe there might be something behind this whole cuffing season thing beyond just like, oh yeah, free time, parties, who wouldn't want to have more sex? Because that is obviously not something that fits me. So I looked into it and I actually found it fairly difficult to locate any original research about cuffing season as a topic, but what I did end up finding was about a dozen articles or so interviewing various researchers and psychologists about this phenomena. And reading all of that, I discovered there were some key threads between all of the various articles, which are as follows. Number one is that cuffing season is connected to our evolutionary drive to stay warm. Humans evolved to press together to stay warm back when the other option was shivering under a heap of animal skins, neuroscientist James Cohen told Insider. Cuddling started out as a less metabolically taxing option, and it eventually became something to look forward to. Even today, people with higher levels of social integration are better protected against the cold, according to a 2018 study called the Human Penguin Project. Hans Iserman, a social psychologist and lead author of the study, told Insider, the association was especially strong for people in romantic relationships, although Iserman and colleagues don't yet know why. Other indirect evidence shows that lower temperatures turn up a passion for romance. Research published in 2011 found that the colder the weather, the more people wanted to watch romance movies, and even showed a willingness to pay higher prices to watch it. Number 2 is that it might also be linked to seasonal hormonal changes. Numerous articles that I read all cited the idea that testosterone has peaks and valleys over the course of the year, with the main peak being during the wintertime and the main valley being during the summer. They therefore inferred that would mean that there would be a higher level of sexual desire and sexual activity. They also pointed out that there's other research that heterosexual men are more likely to find women attractive during the winter months. That could be because of testosterone levels. That could also be because of the fact that skin is more scarce during the wintertime, meaning that's more alluring to see it. But testosterone isn't the only thing that's changing this time of year. There's also serotonin levels, and people are more likely to have lower serotonin levels during the winter. That might mean they seek out comfort with sex or relationships in order to boost their mood and make up for that lost serotonin. But number 3, it's not just about the wintertime either. Although most of the articles on this subject do link cuffing season with the wintertime, as Justin Miller points out, it's not the only time of the year that we see a sexual peak in terms of people acting out and wanting to have more sexual interactions. Though this kind of does go against the last thing we talked about with testosterone, there is a second peak during the summertime, which is not as connected to biology. According to Justin Miller, he thinks that is because of summer free time, travel, and vacation time that people take, which allows them to pursue more sexual things. And in the opposite direction, data from Facebook shows that the wintertime is the best for new relationships and summer is the worst for relationship survival. And speaking of relationships, number 4, no one wants to be alone for the holidays. This one is less based on science and more based on anecdote and social pressure. It might be embarrassing to be the only one single at the holiday party. You might have pressure from your family to finally bring someone home for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and we might respond to those pressures by trying harder to meet people to take to those events. It could also be something about the parties themselves. They can be a good way to meet people. Also, they tend to have a lot of drinking at them, and drinking plus people tends to equal spontaneous, risky decision making that normally people might not make in another context at a different time of the year. Cue movie trope here about people getting it on in the coat closet at the company holiday party. Yeah, that's an actual thing that happens apparently. I wouldn't know. The blessings of working for yourself. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the last part of this, which is that it's both about the holidays and about the season. While, as Miller points out in his 2018 interview with NPR, we don't have a lot of great research from other cultures, it does seem like there is both an impact from the holidays as well as the season itself. Quote, "This tendency to have intimacy on the brain isn't just about the winter, but also about the holidays themselves. They found that searches for sex increased during the holiday season and that the timing of the peak is dependent largely on the religious affiliation of the country. For example, searches for sex were most popular around Christmas time for countries with large Christian populations, but these searches peak during Eid, which occurs at varying times of year based on a lunar calendar, for countries with large Muslim populations such as in India. So while there seems to be an effect of winter, there's an additive effect of the holidays too." It's worth noting that in addition to changes in internet searches, condom sales also give us some insight into how many people are planning to have sex soon, and research has found a reliable peak during the Christmas period. This phenomenon of buying more condoms around the holidays appears to be worldwide. So, does all of this mean that cuffing season is real? Well, not really, or at least we don't have enough science yet to be able to prove it. There's no direct science on it at all, says Gary Lewandowski, a psychologist at Monmouth University in New Jersey, who writes about relationship science. But that doesn't mean that cuffing season isn't real, he says. "I didn't find anything that suggests it's complete garbage." And I love that there's like, well, it's not complete garbage, just kind of like a little bit garbage is like insinuated by that. And I love it. A little bit of shade from Gary there on cuffing season. And I do find it interesting how many different variables there are at play here to examine, right? We have the holidays, we have way old human biology, and we have the very modern pressure to bring back a bow for Thanksgiving. And somehow all of that goes together. Social pressure, biology, psychology, all of the above. And I did notice something, and I don't really know if this is on purpose, but I noticed a really big conflation between sexual behavior and getting into a relationship. And I know for most people, those two things do usually go together, but they don't always. And because cuffing season is about finding a committed relationship, I don't really know that we can say that an increase in condom sales means that cuffing season is a real thing. It means there's more condom sales. And just because people are having more sex doesn't necessarily mean they're getting into relationships, especially when it means it could be from hookups at holiday parties or one-night stands around New Year's Eve, or trying to cope with your loneliness by finding a friends with benefits relationship. There's all sorts of different explanations of why this is happening. So can I really say that cuffing season is the explanation here? I don't think so. I think it would be more accurate to say, based on the data, that people do seem to have more of a drive towards sex around this part of the year, around the holidays and around the winter time. But where does that leave me? Because I am ace and I am more motivated by romantic attraction. So maybe there is something to be said for the winter season and not necessarily wanting to have hookups at a company Christmas party. Even though a lot of the data that's being used here is more about things like condom purchases or people searching for, I do think there is something to be said for the more biological side of things. The impact of testosterone levels or serotonin, or the fact that on social media we see more people getting into relationships around the wintertime, losing them during the summer, and you also have most people signing up for dating apps around the start of the new year. So seasonal, holidays, New Year's resolutions, finally getting fed up during the summertime when you have freedom and more ability to meet people when you travel. I don't know. It's all really interesting, and I would love to know what you think about this in a comment down below. I am so curious to know what future research about this is potentially going to demonstrate, and I wonder what they would even end up focusing on, really. I do think I agree with Lynn Miller when he says this is a biopsychosocial phenomena, in that it's not just the genes, it's not just the weather, it's not just the holidays, it's not only social pressure, it's all of those things going together and making a big, messy soup of influence that we all have to share in order to do what our brains do, I guess. I don't really know what that even means, honestly. I just kind of said it. Anyways, that's where I'm going to end this for today, you all. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of this video. Let me know what you think in a comment down below, your thoughts about this whole subject. Cuffing season, if you have noticed this in yourself, how it impacts you, how it doesn't. Let me know all your thoughts, your feelings in a comment down below. If you enjoyed this, if not already, please do subscribe. I make videos twice a week about all sorts of kink and BDSM related topics. And finally, if you want to support what I do, the best way you can do that is with Patreon. A link to that will be down below. If you do support me there, thank you so much. It means the absolute world to me. And until I see you all next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.